10% drawdown or maximum drawdown for the day and you can't trade your account. That sucks. That's recklessness. And not enough is said about these types of things. And the closest I've ever heard, Mark Douglas doesn't even come close. He doesn't even come close. Not to be disrespectful. The book is essential. Everybody should have it in their library. They should read it. But it still doesn't pair with the logic of knowing what you're doing is wrong and someone telling you how to fix it and you ignoring it. You may have read Mark Douglas's book, but are you implementing it? Yeah, I read it, man. I'm an OG just like everybody else. I read that book. But how are you trading? You're not using anything from that book. You're doing everything that he says that is going to be a problem. Think about it. You know what you're doing many times is not what you should be doing. And you shun that conscious in you, that little inside voice that's yours. It's your conscience saying, I shouldn't press the button. And you think, oh, wait a minute. And then something comes over top of you and you press it because you just can't sit comfortably in a position of self-control. So you let yourself do what your impulsive nature wants to do. And then you lose money. And it doesn't happen quick. It's going to be a long, drawn-out process, a painful lesson that should be used as a means of saying, you know what? I don't want to do this again. But that's not enough. That's not enough, young man. You have to have more of it to see that there's a problem here that you need to identify. What is it you're doing? Are you angry because something just happened and you want to have a feel-good moment? Or are you impatient and you want to get there faster, knowing full well that you're not ready? That's what you have to be identifying. You have to identify your impulsive nature, your recklessness, and impatience. And what are those catalysts that promote that decision-making or that thought process at the time when you're taking these impulsive decisions and placing them in the marketplace? Is that part's for the people that are already trading, not you, Caleb. But this is an area that is rich for people to write books on. If you have experiences where you've made money, but you've gone through painful experiences like that and you want to write a book, I'm buying your book. I'm buying that. Because that's someone that had to wrestle demons that they made relationships with, that they protected. See, you're protecting all those bad decision-making catalysts. You're protecting them instead of saying, it's time to go. It's eviction day. You got to get out of here. What I'm trying to do, there's no room for you here. I'm building an enterprise and there's no positions open for detractors, derailers, things that's going to cause me to not find my success and reach my opportunities and my threshold of success. You have to identify them as soon as you can. And it's scary to do that because it makes you feel frail. When frailness in the beginning is a strength. It doesn't feel that way, but it really is a superpower. That you are not going to let your ego and your pride mask what is going to be the biggest barriers for you to succeed. All you have to do is recognize what they are and do everything you can to not feed them. What's the success rate for guys that go to the bars and spend all their money? Are they finding their wife? No. And the ones that they end up probably marrying in those conditions, do those marriages work out? Probably not. So why would you expect it any different in the marketplace when you're competing with the smartest people in the world that have control over everything? And they're tying strings to you like a marionette, and they're going to make you dance when they want you to. All they got to do is make the market run a little bit. And I've been waiting for this move all morning. Let me get in there. I know it's probably not the best time to buy it, but I got to get in there because I don't want to miss it. And I won't use a stop loss because I don't know how much it's going to retrace. Does that sound like someone that has a sound logic and a model that makes sense to trade on? No, it doesn't. But at the time, you're going to convince yourself, it's my model. It's my right now model. And right now model is the model that always blows out. That wasn't your model 20 minutes ago. It wasn't the model last Friday. It wasn't what you were starting to trade with, and this is what you settled in on. It's your right now model. It's your right now decision process that has absolutely nothing to do with why you're trying to trade. It just means that you feel like you're going to get something out of the move. You're trying to milk it. And many times, you're not milking a female cow. You're milking a bull. And you know what you get from that. So you have a lot of work in the early stages of your development that you have to force yourself to be honest about. You have to recognize character flaws that once you identify them and you build in coping skills. Like I had to learn lots of skills to manage anxiety and agoraphobia. I had fear of being around other people. I could not have done what I'm doing today when I was 20. I couldn't have done it. I was so afraid of other people's view of me because I was trying so hard to make myself into something to impress my grandfather. So I had this deep rooted sense of wanting to shield myself from criticism. And then eventually it led to agoraphobia. I didn't want to be around other people. I didn't want to be around other people where they would say, hey, how's your trading going? Because I blew that account then. And I didn't want to lie because it's not easy to manage a lot of lies. Once you start lying, you got to remember everything. So I would avoid all those things. I would avoid meeting up with people. If we had family functions, I was sick. If we have a cookout, I've already ate. I'm not going. And I just stayed away from everybody because I didn't want the invitation of friends and family to ask me how I was doing because I didn't want them to say, haha, we told you. So it caused anxiety. And then that anxiety exasperated to levels of agoraphobia, which is fear of being around other people. And your world shrinks down to what was at that time just my bedroom. And it started this toxic cycle of everything about myself I hated. Everything that I did was wrong. And I punished myself and punished myself and punished myself. And I was just in this small little world that I created for myself with fear, anxiety, and depression. And then it grew into an eating disorder. And I was very, very well built as a young man. I was working out. I had a very amazing upper body. I didn't work out. I was the guy that didn't do leg day. And I ain't got to shame to tell you, I look like a fucking ice cream cone. But it is what it is. I ain't going to lie to you. I didn't want to do my legs. It sucked. So I wore big baggy pants, Zubaz pants back then, like the Road Warriors, the wrestlers. You know, it was big baggy pants and then muscle tees or tight t-shirts and showed everything. And I went down from 195 pounds, which was stacked with no juice. I was going to start taking steroids because I wanted to be a wrestler, WWF wrestler. And this agoraphobia and anxiety and eating disorder brought me all the way down to 150 pounds. And I might even show a picture of it the next time we do a live stream. I was emaciated. I looked a mess. I looked like a cancer patient before chemo. Like it was bad. And my bones and my joints hurt because I was malnourished. And I put myself through that. The market didn't do that to me. I did. I did that to myself. And it caused so many problems. I was developing an ulcer in my stomach. I had irritable bowel syndrome and colitis a lot, which are all terrible, terrible feelings of not being able to go to the bathroom the right way. And because I was constantly pumping acid in my stomach through stress and barely eating anything, I couldn't even drink water because it was painful. I was going to the emergency room, severely dehydrated, and they had to put IV bags on me, and I had to spend time there getting rehydrated. And I was doing it all the time. And that wasn't enough to say, you better stop before you kill yourself. I was trapped in this loop of constantly feeding the demons, protecting them. I was protecting them. And I needed someone to say, hey, you need help. You need to stop thinking like you're thinking. And you're doing it to yourself. And a lot of my students that have been upfront and honest And please don't take this as an invitation to reach out to me, email, because it's barely ever an opportunity for me to get back to some of you that send me emails. Then you end up sending me emails a month later saying you're a jerk. You don't ever answer my emails. Look how many people follow me. If just 5% of that ever sends me an email, I would never get through them. So it's not that I don't want to. There's so many of you. But I want Caleb to understand that this is a wonderful opportunity for you to carve out a lifestyle, a life for yourself. And it need not be millionaire status. You could just do really, really well making less than 6 figures, but high 90s, and be comfortable, not have to work your job, not have to commute 2 hours. That sucks. Working 12-hour days. That's replaceable. You don't need to do much to get that replaced. But you can also chase unrealistic expectations and have high, lofty goals on yourself and paint yourself in a situation where you've told friends and family that you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And now you just made it harder for yourself, which is why I tell you in those Twitter spaces last year and the year before when I was doing them, that love your friends and family from a distance and keep your business out of their attention. Don't tell them what you're doing. Let them recognize what you're doing because your lifestyle has changed. Telling people that you're going to be successful trading, you're going to make lots of money, all you have done now is given them the fuel and the ammo to shoot you in your face and tell you, I told you weren't going to be able to do that. Versus if you just keep it to yourself, you're not elevating the risks, you're not making it more complicated, you're not making it more emotional, you're not making it harder for yourself to live up to expectations that are outside of your own. And as soon as you invite other people to give you their opinion, you're now trying to appease what they think. And they don't even know what a chart's telling them, but they're going to have an opinion about trading. Nobody makes money in trading. Well, it's hard for people to make money when it's like that. When you're complicating it with all these emotional, psychological barriers that you're going to place up inside your mind. And it's a normal thing. It's more prevalent than you realize. Most people are really good at hiding it. They're ashamed of it. They think they're not a man. They think they're not mentally fit. When it's just you keeping yourself in a very stressful environment and not identifying the exits. You choose to stay there. You're in a cell in a prison, but the cell door's open. And you can leave anytime you want, but you're making your bed there. You're staying there because you feel more comfortable in that pain than the pain you think is going to happen because other people will be able to say, I told you you couldn't do it. So you're going to keep doing all these things, making decisions on things that are not rooted in sound logic because you want to be able to say, I did it my way. And that way wasn't even scientifically laid out as a process. This is what I'm going to do when I do this. If I have a losing trade, then I'm going to react this way. I'm not going to trade. I'm not going to look at the charts. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to shoot same model tomorrow when I find a setup. If the setup's there, I'm going to execute on it. I'm not going to increase my risk. I'm not going to trade more contracts. And once I get my win for the day, I'm done. I'm turning my charts off. I have to control myself. You have to think this way and live it. Stay in a rule-based mindset. If you do, you're going to have a whole lot less anxiety. You'll still feel stress. I mean, stress is normal. Stress is a proof that you're living. Your heart speeds up a little bit. Guess what? That's good. You're excited. That's not fear. You're excited because you're following your model and you're doing everything right. See what I just did there? When I was 20, oh shit. I wish this thing would start moving faster. I haven't overcome the commission cost yet. My commission cost back then was $100 for one contract. Think about that now. You guys are complaining and saying, oh man, commission costs suck. I was paying $100. That's what everything cost back then. It wasn't until Lynn Waldock and other brokers that came out and they had discount brokerage firm fees, $35 round turn. But even that, $35 per contract is still exorbitant compared to today. So you're paying, when you're doing a 25 lot trade, you're paying a lot of money and you're not guaranteed to even overcome the spread and the commission. You want to talk about stress? That's stressful. But if you have a process that you're following and you've already identified what you are going to think in certain conditions, when the market does what you thought it was going to be, how do you feel? Do you feel like you want to go on social media and parade it around? You have insecurity issues. You need to be validated. Well, you're going to do a whole lot of things in your trading to seek that versus following a model that makes money and controlling risk. You'll be more likely to take big impulsive trades over leveraged just to impress. Because as soon as you start that problem, that mistake of taking your wins and your results that made money and you show it on social media, you throw it out there in the ether and you're waiting for the confirmation from the sky above. You are the chosen one. You are the one we've all been waiting for. We're all going to follow in a single file line behind you and bow down and worship and kiss your ass. That's what you really want. And when they don't do it enough for you, you're going to have to think, well, I got to over leverage because the last time I made a $500 win, nobody really gave two shits about it. So I have to now do something to make over $1,000. So what are you going to do? What needs to change? Your leverage. In your eyes, that's what you think needs to change. But I'm telling you, that doesn't need to happen. Because if you make the same trade tomorrow using your model and all you make is $475, you made $475. That's a win. You closed the charts and you got more experience and you've managed yourself. You've controlled that impulsive nature, that intrusive thought about, I want to do more so I can impress other people that you don't really care about. You just want them to tell you you're better than you really are. You want some person to lie to you with a limited perspective of what you've given them. They only can see what you've just shown them, but you've not been fully transparent and said that you were terrified while you were taking that trade. You see where this is a problem? And then take a step back and think about everybody you talk to on social media, how this is actually happening behind the scenes, and you probably never thought about it, and how you're doing it too. And now they're all thinking the same thing about you. And you wonder why I'm laughing at all of you. Because I did that same stuff. And you think that this is what you're supposed to do, and it's not. Women aren't doing that. Women are not doing that. But all of you men are. All of you are. It's a measuring competition. Now, I'm not impressed by showing me one trade or one broker statement where you did something where you made a little bit of money. I'm more impressed when I see someone that's making it available to other people when they live stream. They let it all hang out. Come hell or high water, it's a good day or it's a bad day, they're just out there doing it. That doesn't mean I agree with their trading method. There isn't anybody out there that's trading on the live stream that I agree with any of their methodology. But I'm impressed with their ability to put themselves out there in that fishbowl for other people to watch. And it's a wonderful opportunity to study human psychology, both in their audience and how they think about price and how they worship or troll the results of these people. But also when they show their face, look at their face, read their face. Are they able to stare at the chart? How often are they looking away from the charts? That's them hiding. It's called point of indication. In magic, I mentioned this in Friday. I know I'm going on and on and on, but I promise I'll say this and I'm stopping. In magic, when you do a trick as a performer, magicians that are not refined, they will close their eyes at the moment a sleight of hand is being done. Because what they're doing is they're closing their eyes because they don't want to see themselves flash. In magic, it's called, like if you have a coin or a card in your hand, you're trying to make it appear to the spectator it's vanishing. You're actually hiding it and copying it in a certain handheld. But because they know that they're not really good enough to be doing what they're doing, they will close their eyes at the very moment a sleight of hand's being done. So when I studied under Jeff McBride, he's one of the best today card manipulators. And he taught on this principle, and it made very, very good sense to me as someone that was an educator. I was like, you know what? That's not just happening in magic. It happens in everything. And it's a tell. So if you aren't careful, you're going to ignore these point of indications in your character. and you'll put band-aids on them. You'll close your eyes to the things you're doing wrong. Never sharing it with the public, but the public that can see you doing them, like for instance, when a live streamer is in a trade. They didn't say they bought it or sold it yet, but all of a sudden they were talking, real talkative, and they get real quiet. And they're not looking at the charts a lot. They'll look down, they'll bite their fingernail, they'll look at the car behind themselves, think they probably paid too much money for it. How many people care about that car anymore? Or they'll look at another chart, or they'll start nodding their head to a song they're listening to, or even worse, listen. Because some of them are basically eating their microphone. Their breath will become erratic. Okay, it's getting real annoying here. They're indicating to you. That's point of indication. That's them not comfortable in the trade, not trusting the logic. They're just hoping it's going to pan out for them. You need to do, and I'm not trolling anybody by doing this. I'm telling you, that's why I appreciate, and I have a great deal of respect for everyone that live streams, and especially the ones that show their face, because they're literally laying themselves out there to be analyzed, seriously analyzed with psychology and humanistic characteristics that are going to manifest themselves in what they're doing. You need to do the same thing while you're learning how to read price action, because you don't understand the magnitude and the depth and the impact that these things that you're trying to mask and hide in yourself. If you don't recognize what those things are, those being what makes you feel overconfident, what triggers that? What made you feel so overconfident that you're now going to trade maximum leverage? What was it? I guarantee you it's something you're trying to get as a result that is external to trading and external to the market you're trying to trade. You're trying to cope and compensate for something. Someone made you mad, someone hurt your feelings, you're in a relationship that maybe you're arguing with them and you feel like, you know what, I gotta make myself a lot of money today because that way I know I don't have to be codependent with them. That sometimes, ladies, you're not on the straight and narrow entirely. The thing I see in the women traders is that they will quietly over leverage their account when they're in relationships that they're in codependency with. That means the man makes the money and they're home and they're housewives. They take care of the children or they homeschool the children. The characteristics and traits and trends that I've seen in my students are the ones that the females are like that. If they're in an abusive relationship, they will over leverage sometimes, and they use this for once. And I'm thankful, and I'm never saying your name, so please, if you know who I'm talking about, you're not the only one. I've a dozen of the women in my community that have been honest with me and told me these things, and I hope you can appreciate me sharing this in a context that it doesn't out them, but I want you to understand that women will over leverage when they're in those conditions, and why? It's not for greed's sake. They're not trying to take it to social media. They're doing the opposite. They're hiding it from their spouse because they don't want them to know that they're building up enough money to leave that toxic relationship because they don't have the resources to do it right now. So they're quietly doing it. And then when they get abused physically or verbally, they end up taking larger trades because they want to reassure themselves that I am in a position that I can replace him. He's toxic. He's not good for my children. He's not good for me. We can't resolve this, but I can't leave. I can't escape this right now. I have no family members, no friends that I can lean on. So I'm by myself. So I'm going to do something that I know I shouldn't do, but I'm at my wit's end. So I'm going to over leverage. You need to recognize that. Because that is not an invitation for a faster exit. That's you doing something incorrectly, and that's not making you a good trader. If you get rewarded with a big win, you're going to feel more inclined to do it again the next time he hits you, the next time he talks down to you, the next time he abuses the kids, the next time you feel like you should be out of that relationship and you can't stand it anymore. You just want to jump out of your own skin. Those are those triggering moments. Those are the triggering moments. And you have to recognize that in yourself. So that way, when you start feeling that impulsive nature start rising up in you and you're trading with real money, turn the charts off, Go do something else. Go exercise, go run, go read a book, go hang out with friends. Go meet someone. Hey, you got time to meet me for lunch? Take yourself away from the marketplace. I'm telling you, this is the real reality of how you're going to have to deal with this stuff. It's not just going in every day, finding a setup and making money. That's not how this is at all. There's so many things that you're going to have to wrestle with, and you don't even realize what they are. And 99% of them are in your head or in your personal life. They're either physical things that you're coping with in a relationship or a lack of a relationship. And you're lonely and you have somebody that you're interested in, man. You want to get her attention. You want to drive up in a nice car. And you're thinking, all I got to do is split my account this many times, have 20 accounts linked together, and I can get $100,000 in the next couple months if I just do this, build my account up. And then I can go and get a Lamborghini leased. I only got to pay $3,700 a month. I can make that. It's easy. And you're going to do stupid stuff to try to win the attention of some person you don't even know. You don't know what they're going to do when they find out that you drive that Lamborghini. You're doing all the wrong things. And I did all the wrong things as a 20-year-old. And I'm telling you, as a 50-year-old, I can tell you that I wish I could go back in time and talk to myself. I did a series in this YouTube channel. Literally, if I could go back and tell myself these things. And everything I'm talking about in there, look at every influencer today. It flies in the face of everything they do because it's all about engagements, getting you worked up into a frenzy about trading, pushing buttons and making money. And nobody's talking about the realities of what you're going to feel while trying to learn how to do that. And what happens when you get into a winning trade? None of you have any coping skills for that. You think you've ever felt excited and like short of breath because you're losing money? When you have a really big, fast running winner, it's worse. It's worse than losing money. Your very first winning trade that's large and that you didn't have a limit order to get out at, and it's just running for you, it's impossible for me to outline and explain what it feels like. It is a terrible feeling because you don't know what to do. If you get out, what if it kept running? What if I stay in and it goes and reverses as fast as it ran in my favor and it becomes hugely lost? You have no idea what you're going to feel. Which is why I teach you have partials, have limit orders, because it prepares you for that inevitable moment when you have your first runner that you didn't have a limit order on. It keeps you from ever having that fearful moment. Everything I teach is sound logic. It's rooted on real world experience. How I hurt myself, how I built myself back from it, how I learned from mistakes that you don't need to make for yourself. You don't need to do these things, Caleb. You don't need to go through all these painful lessons. You don't need that. You can do it far faster than I did. You can be so much better than me because I have scar tissue that every single time I get into a trade, I have dozens of other instances where I remember taking a trade in copper, and I was like, I ought to get in here and do something different because I felt like this the last time. And I got to tell myself, what does the model say? I'm supposed to be trading price action. I'm supposed to be trading the model, not, I remember the last time I hurt myself 25 years ago. I've done it a lot when I was younger. And those scar tissue, it's like a bad relationship. You punish the people that you're in a relationship with now for the things that they did to you. But they didn't do anything to you. But you're punishing that person. You're punishing them for the things in the scar tissue that you've carried into a previous relationship. That's the same thing that trading is going to do. Because you don't even see it. You don't even think about it. You don't even think about those things. Because these 20-year-old chairmen of multi-level marketing don't know how to trade, can't make any money. They're out there trying to tell you how to be an enterprise by doing market-level marketing, not trading. Getting people to be a sucker to buy in behind you. I don't do those things. I'm telling you in a manner that is not sugar-coated at all. And it's uncomfortable. These lectures are not comfortable. They don't make you feel good, but they make you take personal inventory. And a lot of people are going to, I don't know, I don't even want to look at it. I'll look at it when I'm done. I'll look at the analytics and see what the watch numbers are on it. But I told you last week I expect them to be low. That doesn't change the fact that I'm telling my son these things this week. He needs to know these things. So that way it calibrates his mindset and says, you know what? I don't need to impress dad by doing this, this, this. I am going to follow a model. And by default, dad will be pleased that I'm only doing what is expected of me. I'm not trying to present more evidence that I have learned more than I should have right now, because dad's not expecting me to have that. And it's liberating. Contrast that with go, go, go. Get out there and start trading. Start with a real account, a couple $100. You'll learn how to trade when you do that. That's an idiot's mentality. I promise you, that's the same person they're afraid to take trades. Every single trade they take, they're fearful of it. They're fearful of taking trades like that. And they can lie all they want. But come out here and let's see it. They won't do it. Oh, you're a demo baller. They'll just cop out doing it that way. But I'm telling you the real stuff. This is the real things that matter most, because this is the stuff that's going to allow you to be successful, or it's going to make you tap out. You're going to do something that causes you to blow out, and you won't want to do whatever it takes you to refund an account or take a week or two off and then go back in and do another funded account challenge. If that's what you want to do. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but you have to give yourself flexibility and time. And how much time is it going to take for you? I don't know how much baggage you have. How much baggage have you brought into this? How much are you hiding? To your friends and your family, they may never know the depths of the anxiety and depression you're wrestling with, because you got real good at hiding it. But you won't be able to hide it in trading. I promise you, it is like a scrying mirror. What it is they feel they should be doing, whatever. But it is a scrying mirror. It will show you the ugliest parts of you. And you will not be able to mask it. You will not be able to hide it. It will manifest itself in stunning fashion. You're impulsive, greedy. Well, guess what? You're going to blow your account in stunning fashion, in such amazing speed. It's going to happen so fast, your head's going to spin. And you're going to act like you're surprised. Wow. How did this happen so quick? And I'm telling you why. I'm telling you why. The things that you hold inside that are repeating toxic things that make you less of a success than you would be if you overcome them. But you can't overcome them until you recognize them, right? And everybody wants to stay comfortably hiding. They don't want the friends and family, they don't want the social media people to know that, hey, maybe I'm not entirely perfect when we walk around pretending that we are. Social media is a wonderful opportunity for everybody to pretend there's nothing wrong with them. They do everything right. I don't hide that. That's why I'm very polarizing. People say, wow, you're bipolar. You know, you start ranting and cussing. You know, I'm a Christian. You say you're a Christian and you talk in that language. Let me tell you something. Let me spend 1 week with you and I'll show you how you're a Christian too, right? You're never walking on water, okay? Everybody makes mistakes and I repent for everything I do. I don't claim to be perfect, but I'm not going to get out here and pretend that I don't have these real experiences that I had to go through and the coping mechanisms that I had to go through to fix them. But I had to identify that I had them. And I hid them for a long time because I built myself up in front of my family, in front of my friends, and they all said that this was never going to manifest itself and be successful. I would never know how to be able to beat the markets. They said it's never going to happen. Nobody can beat the market. Nobody can. Nobody knows how to time the market. That was constantly said on CNBC and FNN back then, before it was CNBC. Nobody can time the market. And they still try to say it. Nobody can time the market. Well, you know better than that now. But you can't time the market until you learn how to do it. And you won't learn how to do it properly until you remove these big barriers. They're like rocks in your shoe. And you might think that, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, I'm going to keep doing this. But if you try to run before you get that rock out, you're not going to run as long and without pain. And you won't fatigue as soon as you would if you had a rock in your shoe. Think about it. If you had a rock in your shoe and you're expected to run 10 miles or even walk it, as a younger man, I used to be frustrated. I would get a rock in my shoe. And I'm like, I ain't stopping, untying my shoe, taking my shoe off to get this rock out, and then have to put the shoe back on. I had to tie the whole time. That's aggravating. That's a man. I'm not going to pull over and ask for directions. I'm going to figure it out and waste the gas tank. Yeah, that's what men do. What does the woman want to do? Well, let's pull over and ask this person. No, I ain't doing that. What are you doing? They're going to think I'm stupid if I ask for directions. She's not thinking that they're going to think that she's stupid. She's thinking, I need to get somewhere. I have a process. I'm getting somewhere with the most efficient direction and pathway. There it is. I don't want to be in this car with you. That's what she's thinking. But the husband's like, I don't want to look stupid to that other man. And that's what trading is. You don't want to make mistakes because you think everybody's sitting in your trading room with you, seeing everything you're doing while you're in every fluctuation of that trade. And you're making your trade harder because you think that way. Think about it. It's funny, but it's also uncomfortable, isn't it? You were laughing at first, but you start thinking, shit, he just nailed me. He literally just nailed me to the wall. That's me. He's talking about me right now. I'm talking about me. You just resonate with it because you're like, I'm doing that same stuff. I did all that stuff too. But there's a way to get past all that. But you got to make changes. And you have to identify what they are, and you have to take advantage of this time in your development. This stage in your development, this is the most critical time. This is the foundation. Everything is going to be built upon. If you rush it, you will only go so far. You might be able to make some money, but you're not retiring. You're not living on your trading. I guarantee you that's not going to happen. Nobody lives on their trading and makes a huge enterprise out of their success in trading when they have not overcome these demons. You need to recognize what they are. Some of you are going to have all of the box checked. Anxious, fearful, impatient, just everything, greed. You'll have every box checked. But there's a coping mechanism I'm going to teach you this week that overcomes all of them. And I'm not talking about going into the Bible, but that's the best one, really. But that's all I'm going to say on that. I had to slide that in there, okay? But there are physical things that you can do. Anxiety attacks. I'm going to teach you how to overcome an anxiety attack, how to prevent one. I'm going to teach you how to fix heart palpitations when you start having, rapid heartbeats when you're trading. I'm going to tell you how to fix all that stuff. But when you start feeling those physical symptoms, if you're any bit of a hypochondriac, it'll scare you. And then it revs up into full panic. In full panic, you're not in control of yourself. So you never want to be in full panic when you're in a trade because you won't know when to pull the plug. You won't know when to get out of the trade. You won't see it. Everything's moving so fast. Your brain's processing so fast because you're in fight or flight. And you will have a clouded mind because everything is standing still. You're not doing anything. But your brain's saying, we're going 100 miles an hour and we have something to do. What is it we want me to do? I'm ready. I have the adrenaline. I'm ready. We got to run. I'm ready. If we have to fight, I'm ready. But you're standing still. And if you're standing still, you're going to feel the physical effects of adrenaline being in your body, which is going to increase your heart rate. And you're not doing anything to burn the adrenaline off. And then you start feeling cortisol. And cortisol is your stress hormone. And you will literally start feeling things that are uncomfortable if you've never felt them before. Tingling in spots on your face. When I would have it, it would be in my left eyebrow. My left eyebrow would start tingling and it would drift underneath my left eye and go into where my left nostril was. And I'm thinking, I'm having a stroke. I'm stroking out. And then I started thinking that and thinking, I am stroking out. Let me check my pulse. Well, now you're doing the wrong thing. Look for other symptoms, Michael. Well, of course, my heart rate's over 150 beats a minute. I'm tacking like crazy. And what does that do? Speeds it up even more. And then 10 minutes later, paramedics are at my house telling me, bear down, or I'm going to have to give you something to stop you because your heart rate's 220 beats a minute. Do you want to go through these experiences? Or do you want to listen to me? Because given enough opportunity, some of you will go through that or worse. If you're not healthy, if I was not healthy going through all that stuff, I probably would have had a heart attack. I probably would have had a real stroke. Even if you're healthy, if you keep putting yourself in that condition, you wear your arteries down. And that stress hormone, cortisol, the way your body fights that is it lays down cholesterol in your arteries. What is that going to do? It's going to further increase the likelihood that you're going to eventually pop. So it's important for you to make this boring. You do not want it. I'm on a boat, T-Pain in the background. You know, it ain't about all that, okay? It's about I am following a boring model. And that boring model can make as much as I want it to. And I don't have to elevate the excitement or fear. Let the money management do the heavy lifting, but you're just doing the same boring things that are not hidden from you on the chart. Be forgiving. Give yourself permission to be infallible. No, I said that wrong. Fallible. You don't want to be walking around like you're infallible. And that's what men try to do. They try to walk around like they're a man of steel, Superman. Women, they always ask me the right questions. I've never had a female student ever ask me a question that sounded like a man's perspective. It's never happened. It has never, ever happened. Men always are looking for ways to keep their ego from being bruised. Women are looking for a way to focus on what matters most for the model to be equipped in their hands appropriately. Not faster, so they don't do it wrong. Men, how can I run my account up and how can I pyramid? That's a man's question. How can I go out and win the Super Bowl? I've never worn pads before and I've never had a football in my hand. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. It's funny when you really sit back. I've had a very unique perspective as an educator, having so many people come through the fold. It's astonishing to see the same things repeating based on the female perspective and the male perspective. And I have lesbian students, I have gay students, and it's still the same thing. Men that are living gay lives, they don't think like women. They still have the same thought processes of the man. They want to do more. The women, even though they may live a gay lifestyle, they're still thinking like a woman. And to me, that's astonishing as well, because you can't escape who you are. And that's the problem with trading. If you come in with toxic thinking, if you come in with flawed logic or high expectations that are unrealistic for you to meet, no wonder you're going to want to quit so soon. You've made it harder for yourself. You don't need any extra help. It's going to be a very daunting task because you have to overcome yourself first. And everybody that's in a 90% bracket that quits and loses money and never does it anymore, it's because they lost to themselves. Look at how many times they traded. You don't know, that doesn't fit me, ICT. I've been doing this for 12 years. I've never been profitable. You don't know me, man. How many times have you really traded? You probably took 3 or 4 trades and blew the account. That's not enough experience. You just did things impulsively and you wrecked yourself and you had to wait and talk yourself into getting more money or whatever, sell some stuff in the garage. Now with funded accounts, now all you got to do is, wait a little while and the wife won't know about it and then pay for it. Get yourself a prepaid credit card off the bank or whatever in the aisle Food Line, and I'll just pay with that. She won't know. That's a problem. That is a problem. So you know enough that you know that you're not going to follow the rules and you're going to hide it from her. If you're married, if you're in a serious relationship, you need to explain to them that you're pursuing this and you're not expecting to make any money soon, but this has now become a major focus for you, like a college pursuit. That way, you're not feeding them bullshit in the beginning, like, oh, we're going to be able to quit our jobs and blah, blah. Don't tell your spouse that. Don't tell your spouse that. Because you now elevated it to a level of expectation that they're going to hold you to. And why wouldn't they? You took it upon yourself to tell them that stuff. They love you and they trust you. So why would you think that they're not going to expect it? You're going to live up to that. And when you don't, in your eyes, you're going to manifest all the stress indicators. You're going to be grumpy. You're not going to be paying attention when the conversation is taking place. And when you start seeing these things in your personal life, you need to take inventory of that. Recognize them. Don't try to hide from it. Because all of that's going to do what? It's going to manifest itself in these candlesticks, just like a scrying mirror. You're going to see things that's going to show you your ugly side. And what are you going to do? You're going to feel uncomfortable. And as a man, you're going to do what? You're going to plow ahead. You're going to draw your sword, throw your shield down. You're going to draw your sword and run head on to meet that thing. And you're ill-equipped, and it's going to take your head off. The women in that same circumstance, they're going to sit still and do nothing, and they'll be paralyzed, and they won't take a trade. That's the dynamic with man and female. That's how they think as a trader. That's how they engage price in this stage. That's what they do. I have the data to support that. I have 1 million plus students, and I've had several decades of teaching. And I have said to the same talking points I'm giving you here, I've had more people say, I can't do that. I don't want to think about the things I'm doing wrong. So I just try to power through it as a man. Or a woman will say, I'm just not going to take the initiative to make that change. So they either sit still and do nothing, or the man does too much. And that's the repeating phenomenon that comes for the people that are spinning the wheels that never find their way in this stuff. I promise you, it's not just because it's my content. They would have those same things in any other discipline of trading. It's because it's in them. That's the problem. When I was losing money and blowing accounts as a 20-year-old, none of it had anything to do with the trading, because the moves I was blowing my account on, they weren't even that big of a move. There was just small little retracements that I was over leveraged on, and I would try to make big positions with very, very, very small stop losses, and those cuts would just be boom, 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 and then the account's gone. And I was right that the market was going to go up to those levels I was aiming for, but I was not allowing myself to trade with just one contract and use a reasonable stop loss and just let it happen. I was trying to maximize as much as I could because I wanted to leave working. I wanted to be able to turn to my family and friends and say, you were wrong about me. So what was I trading for? Everything outside of being successful. I was trading to impress people that really, looking back now, they had no impact on me. Whether I did it or didn't, they didn't have any power over me. But I was giving them power by what I was doing. And you don't see it that way when you're going through it. And all these other things, it may not be that for you. It may be something else. There's so many things. I don't want to list everything because I've already went longer than I was supposed to again. But this is such a rich topic that I was going to write a fourth book and let it be about these types of things, but I just don't feel comfortable writing it. I think sharing my stories, letting you hear me tell you what I went through, it means more. And it's also therapeutic for me because it allows me to detox myself. Because there are some times when I think about how I could have done things better for myself. If I would have done things to fix my personal issues, address certain things, insecurities. When I had my first wife, I was telling her when we were together, I said, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be a trader and I'm going to live a different lifestyle. And your parents just don't understand. And she nodded and gave me a kiss and goes, yeah, we'll see. But that's not saying I believe you. That was like dismissing it. And I still feel that today. And I've not been with that woman for decades. We're talking about when I was